Okay, so it's day 299, and it's almost hard to believe that there are 299 days since Putin has invaded Ukraine. I mean, it's really just mind blowing that we're here. On the first few days, we didn't think this was going to last at all. It was going to be over in no time flat, and then the Ukrainians stood up, and 299 days later, we're still in the fight. Okay, so I'm going to talk about old threats and I'm going to talk about new threats and why they may or may not come to pass. And let's just stay with me. Before I do that, I want to point out this. A couple of days ago, I did this interview with Orth Zub. And then even on the community channel, I put on this on the community channel. I said, I have a special request. If you watch my channel, you are a pretty hardcore supporter of Ukraine. Yesterday, I interviewed Orth Zub. I'm not asking you to watch that video or that interview. I would think it would be useful for you, but I am asking you to do this. Watch at least one of his videos. He was doing like a travel vlog kind of thing before the war, and then he just started documenting what's going on in Ukraine. And it's just like you'll see what's happening on the ground. You'll see the buildings with big holes of missiles in it. I highly recommend that you do that. Okay, that's all for the commercial. Let's move on. Now, yesterday I talked about what happened in Belgorod, like this RT article about how they hit this poultry farm, and they showed that in the RT article. Now, here's a Moscow Times article that gives a little bit more to the story. The governor recently announced the construction of defensive fortifications near the border without specifying their length or exact location, and the formation of self-defense units in preparation for a potential Ukrainian incursion into Russian territory. So there are Russian troops massing somewhere on the border in Belgorod in Russia, and that's what's going on here. It's not just, those Ukrainian Nazis are indiscriminately firing into Russian territory. It's not that at all. Okay, next article. President Zelensky meets with Prime Minister from the United Kingdom, who announces a $304 million in new aid. The package includes hundreds of thousands of rounds of artillery. Now, this is important because whoever runs out of artillery or missiles or whatever first will lose. That's just the way that it works. I've read it, I've heard it, I've seen it again and again, that's really going to be one of the big driving forces. The UK is already Europe's leading provider of defensive aid to Ukraine. They're adding multiple launch rocket systems, or recently 125 anti-aircraft guns. And the UK is the second biggest donor, second only to the United States, who's pledged some $51 billion in humanitarian, financial, and military aid. So, yeah, I think this is important for that reason. The British aren't going anywhere, and Putin's hope to win this war is to split Western partners away from Kiev. That's the only way that he's going to be able to win this war. Okay, next article. Kiev slams Kissinger over a call to negotiate with Russia for peace. Now, Kissinger did this earlier in the summer where he said something about, I don't know, we need to go back before the February 22nd borders. Like, we need to go back to that and just, call it a day in order to not have World War III. So Kissinger said at the time that he had come for a negotiated peace, the time had come for a negotiated peace with Russia in order to reduce the risk of a devastating world war. The preferred outcome for some is a Russia rendered impotent by the war. That's my preferred outcome. I don't want them doing this again. I disagree, Kissinger continued. Why did he disagree? Well, for all its propensity to violence, Russia has made the decisive contributions to the global equilibrium and balance of power for over half a millennium. That may be true, but right now it's almost like Nazi Germany. No, you need to reduce Nazi Germany so they cannot fight. Not Germany of all time. I'm not saying that, but Nazi Germany, this current administration, this regime in Russia, same kind of thing. The prescription that the ex-Secretary of State calls for, but is afraid to say out loud, is simple: appeasement of the aggressor by sacrificing parts of Ukraine with guarantees of non-aggression against other states in Eastern Europe, said Mikhailo Polodek. And then Zelensky was even a little bit further on that, asking this question. Those great geopoliticians who suggested this are disregarding the interests of Ukrainians, the millions of those who actually live on the territory that they propose to exchange for an illusion of peace. And it would be an illusion of peace. And we need to understand that. Okay, moving along. So we had rockets falling on, or actually drones falling on Kiev again. More than 20 enemy UAVs were recorded in the airspace of Kiev, and the air defenses destroyed about 15. So 15 out of 20 in an early report. There was a later report that they destroyed 18 out of 23, and then a later report after that that there was 18 drones shot down. Unfortunately, there was a hit of critical infrastructure facility. Emergency services are eliminating the consequences. Another article talks about what and shows what it looks like, right? So these drones are nothing to joke about. I mean, they can actually do some extensive damage. And then Ukrainian military officials, meanwhile, said 35 Shahed drones were used in the attack and 30 of them were shot down. Okay, this coming one day, only one day after you read this article in Euronews, heating restored and freezing Kyiv after Russian bombardment. And they were like, yeah, we finally got restored all services after the latest shelling. Well, and then this happens today. So that's just where they are. Invaders are doing everything so that not a single wall remains in Bakhmut. So Zelensky said this. He held a headquarters meeting today. We examined the situation in Donetsk and Luhansk regions in great detail. Bakhmut direction is the key one. We are holding the city, although the occupiers are doing everything so that not a single wall remains there. I mean, that's like, I don't know why they keep attacking Bakhmut. It doesn't make any sense to me, but they just keep pressing on Bakhmut. But then he said this, and this was really important because of today's event. Protecting the border, both with Russia and Belarus, is also a constant priority. We are preparing for all possible defense scenarios, as they should be. Right? Russia attacked on a multi-prong from the north, east, and south at the same time. And the general of the Ukrainian army just said that they expect them to try again on Kyiv. Whether that's possible or not, I don't know, but they might try to do that. But Putin is meeting, this is in The Guardian, with Lukashenko today. Lukashenko is the president of Belarus, and they're kind of clubby. The Russian leader's trip will be his first to Minsk since 2019. Usually Putin summons him to come over to Russia, but Putin's going to him now. Now, what was interesting was what was said here. Dmitry Peskov said Belarus was Russia's #1 ally, but the suggestions that Moscow wanted to pressure Minsk into joining what it calls its special military operation were, quote, stupid and unfounded fabrications. Okay, this is what in politics, when you downplay expectations because you know that you're not probably going to get what you're after, that's what's going on here, I believe. I don't know for sure, but I think that's what's going on, because there's no way they're not talking about how to put pressure on Lukashenko to try to join this. Now, can Lukashenko join it? Can he actually do anything? And by the way, these guys go way back, right? These guys, look at these guys. These are much younger dictators just starting to be dictatorish. Okay. And that's what's going on, because he really is a dictator within his country, and he was almost overthrown, but Putin helped him out. And so he kind of owes him one. But he's been giving them missiles. He's been giving them tanks. And if you keep giving these weapons, you don't have it for your own army. So how useful the Belarusian army would be in doing this, other than being a threat on the border, I don't think he's going to be very useful. Okay, last article, and this is the strangest thing that I have seen in the news about anything about Russian army since the beginning of the war. Russian tank unit deliberately attacked another Russian position in Ukraine, a report says. And now this is Yahoo News, which I usually steer away from. It's just a truncation of a New York Times article. The Russian tank unit attacked another Russian position in Ukraine following an argument. There's been open sparring among the leaders, and the tank commander deliberately attacked another Russian position in Zaporizhia this summer. So this was a while back, but wow. Okay, so at any rate, I just thought that would be a fun note to end on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for caring about Ukraine.